Kingdom, it's time to talk winners and losers from the Kansas City Chiefs OTAs. They brought their OTAs to a close yesterday. The final day of mandatory minicamp for the Kansas City Chiefs was yesterday. So now it's time to talk about what we learned from this year's OTAs, what we learned about this Chiefs team, and more importantly, maybe than that, who is a winner and who is a loser from all of the information that we've learned. But speaking about information, speaking about questions and answers, who is on today's question or Chiefs trivia question for you? I want to know, who is the Chiefs all-time points leader? I'm going to give you a hint. It's a special teamer. So think back to some of the great specialists in Chiefs history, the great kickers in Chiefs history, and who might be our all-time points leader. I want you to let me know if you are a real Chiefs ball knower and you know the answer to this question. Comment it down below. If you don't, though, hold tight for me. I got it for you at the end of today's show. Keep racking that brain, though. If it occurs to you while you're watching, get down there and comment. It's never too late. But let's start with our winners here. Kahlil Benson is first on the list here, and this is probably a surprise to most of you watching. I'm sure there's some of you watching who don't know who Kahlil Benson is, and that is perfectly fine. You're not a non-Chiefs fan if you don't know who Kahlil Benson is. He is a recently added undrafted free agent for this team, coming in from Indiana, where he was part of the reigning national championship team. And as producer Reed was just observing to me, he doesn't even have a headshot. So again, like this guy, he's not too established in this league yet. So again, you're a real Chiefs fan. If you don't know the name, now you do. But keep it in the back of your mind here, friends, because he is part, or really becoming part, of what is one of the most important roster competitions on this Kansas City Chiefs team as we continue to progress through this offseason. One of the biggest things left unanswered, who's starting at right tackle for this team? And Jesse Newell gave us some really good notes on OTAs recently, and we're going to come back to some of these later. So get a brief look at these. We'll preview of what might be coming on today's show. But right now, we're focusing on this one right here. Another name to watch in the right tackle battle during training camp is Indiana UDFA Kahlil Benson. And look, Jesse Newell knows his stuff. This is not a slouch out here covering the Kansas City Chiefs. So when he tells you this name is showing up as one to watch in this right tackle battle, this is a name that we need to pay attention to. And it is surprising because, again, there's established guys in that room in Jalen Moore and Esa Pole, less so than Jalen Moore. But Jalen Moore is the big money name there. Jalen Moore's got a lot on his contract. There's also a lot of potential cap savings there. And the Chiefs showed confidence in the depth that exists at this position just yesterday by moving on from Wanya Morris. Shout out to the Kingdom, by the way. Insane turnout on yesterday's video around Wanya Morris. Really appreciate that, guys. But as you saw from watching that one yesterday, we moved off of a depth piece here to potentially create a roster spot to keep Kahlil Benson. There's only so many guys that you can hold on to in this offensive line room. There's only so many guys who are going to get to be here at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, when we roll through training camp. And when you move on from a Wanya Morris, you've created an opportunity to keep Kahlil Benson in that room. Reed switching it back to He-Man for Josh Simmons there. Of course, we know Josh Simmons. That's like the transformation we saw from him this offseason. Going from that guy last year, that headshot last year, to the ripped machine that we are seeing at training camp now. He's a big winner as well, just in terms of his revamped body composition that we've been seeing this offseason. Next up, let's get back to our winners list. This one, I think he might be the biggest winner of OTAs. It's our QB, number 15, Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to talk about him in just 1 second, guys. But before we get to Patrick and everything that's going on with him, I got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, guys. And it's America's #1 sports picks app. You know them, you love them. It's our friends over at Prize Picks. Guys, if you are a regular viewer of the channel, you know I love Prize Picks. And you know exactly why I do, because it brings so much more excitement to watching sports, knowing that I've got a lineup going that could potentially cash in. And I'm already watching these sports anyway, so why not try to get in on some extra action with my Prize Picks lineup? And guys, it is so easy to put together a lineup. All you have to do is pick from 2 to 6 players. You know ball, so go ahead and test your skills here by picking on their stat projections. You can pick less, you can pick more. Right now, I'm going with the less on Fernando Mendoza, the less on Jeremiah Love, and the more on Jordan Tyson. So you guys could tell me on that lineup, and you could fade me on that lineup if you don't agree with me there. But whatever you do, just do it with Prize Picks, because they make it so easy to do so with their social feeds features. You guys can drop a follow on my username. It's just Jackson Durham, my first and last with no spaces. And you guys can see that lineup right there, and you can tailor, you can fade it with just one click on the app. And again, if you're brand new to Prize Picks, make sure you use our promo code when you sign up. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. The clickable link to download the app is in the comments and the description below. Let's talk Mahomes. And this is so fun to talk about on this channel because this guy is a machine. How can you not get fired up watching him go through this process? Watching him be the competitor that we have all known for years Patrick Mahomes is. The generational type of talent shows itself in moments like this. When adversity shows up for guys like Patrick Mahomes, they don't run away. They don't cower in the face of moments like this. You see them become the best versions of themselves. Even when it's not an on-the-field thing, you see Patrick Mahomes in all the leadership qualities that he has, the way he leads by example, how he attacks his rehab, the way he leads on the field by being there despite going through an injury. He knows how important it is that as a leader on this team, that he be there in OTAs, that he be on the field with his teammates, building chemistry with a lot of the young receivers they have in this room. And again, we can praise Patrick Mahomes for the leader he is all day. You guys know I could do that. But he's a winner because he's ahead of schedule, because he is attacking this. Andy Reid, yesterday. I love what he did this offseason, the way he attacked the rehab. And he's on course to take these next few days and get ready for camp. Again, we heard this same message back from Brett Veach earlier this offseason. The idea that Mahomes has been attacking with aggression his rehab. He's not participating in his rehab. He's not showing up to rehab. He's attacking rehab. So needless to say, Brett Veach says, he's way ahead of schedule. I think the biggest challenge we're going to have is protecting him against himself, because I'm sure when we get to St. Joseph's, Missouri for training camp, he's going to want to be full go, but we're going to have to hold him back a little. And again, I don't want to put a timetable on it, but I think you guys know the kind of person and competitor Pat is, and I would just say we're in a really good place right now. Again, you continue to hear this process from the Kansas City Chiefs perspective. There is no sense of concern that Patrick Mahomes is not active enough here, that Patrick Mahomes is behind schedule. It's about, hey, Pat's so ahead of schedule, and he's such a just unreal, next level, built different competitor as far as mentally goes, that we know he's going to try to rush it. We know he's going to try to push himself even further than he actually should. So as doctors, we've got to step in and be like, you know what? We got to hold you back here a little bit, Patrick. We got to restrain you a little bit. That's the exact mindset you want your quarterback to have. He is he's chomping at the bit. I can't make it any clearer to you guys how much Patrick wants to be back in week 1 and that he will be back in week 1. They can hold him back in camp. They can keep the restraints on for then, but they will not in week 1. Mahomes will be there. 100% he will be. Let's talk about one more winning group here. We had 2 individual winners. I think this is a group of winners here. Young receivers. Specifically, I got a few standouts here. There's one young receiver that's going to miss the boat on being in this list, and you'll notice that he's not there. But let's go through our list here. Number 1, by far, is Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy has had one hell of a camp, my friends. He has been praised repeatedly. We'll get into some of that conversation in just one second here, but he has been far and away the best part of, and actually producer Reed letting us get into that conversation right now. Jesse Newell on Xavier Worthy. There is no official award for team MVP of organized team activities and mandatory minicamp. If it existed with the Kansas City Chiefs, though, the likely winner would have been Xavier Worthy, who did it all in a yellow no-contact jersey. Again, remember, guys, he is still recovering from the surgery he had to repair his labrum, his shoulder, just a couple of months ago. And he's out there impressing people so much that he was deemed the team MVP of these workouts. That's big. Next up, Cyrus Allen. We saw a lot of praise on Cyrus Allen and the work he was able to get done. Caught multiple touchdowns, was noted as a favorite target of Garrett Nussmeier, who was also shining in some of these portions. Andrew Armstrong saw praise from a number of different people as well. The former Arkansas receiver and undrafted free agent who signed a futures contract with the Kansas City Chiefs this January. Andrew Armstrong was also very, very strong in camp. And then finally on this list, we have, speaking of guys who are really strong, Jeff Caldwell, man. One of the best athletes in the entire 2026 class. He's like, you look at him, and I'm not saying he's Megatron, but if you look at him in Megatron's RAS cards, the relative athletic scores, they're like identical. So just to give you an idea of what kind of an athlete this dude is, he was standing out in camp as well, was noted on a number of toe tap grabs, which is impressive for a guy of his size. But this is a receiver room that needs this, that needs it badly, especially Xavier. And we've talked about it a lot on this channel. We have talked about Xavier Worthy in a sense from a perspective of this being almost your last chance, of this being almost like, if Worthy can't figure it out this year, is his bust label solidified as far as Kansas City goes? Is that fair? I think it almost is at this point. You have to remember that this guy was a first-round draft pick. What the expectation was that Kansas City would get a receiver here who could step up and deliver for Patrick Mahomes for a number of seasons. Outside of in garbage time in the Super Bowl, we have not seen Xavier Worthy become that kind of takeover weapon, but we are starting to hear indications that back to healthy or close to healthy, as he closes in on that, this season could be the year for Xavier. If he can stay on the field, that's the biggest key for him. Speaking of staying on the field, staying around the team, let's talk about losers here, and you knew this was coming. Everybody knew this was coming. Who could possibly be a bigger loser out of Chiefs OTAs than Rashee Rice? There just isn't one. You could not argue to me that there is a bigger loser from Chiefs OTAs and the offseason in general than number 4, than Rashee Rice, who has had such a frustrating road. And I call it frustrating because he is, at the end of the day, everything that's happened with Rashee Rice happened because regardless of whether or not he realized it, Rashee Rice made it happen. He made every single decision that led to where he is, willingly. He was a willing participant in all of this. He is not a victim of circumstance in any of these outcomes or events. I understand that smoking weed is not the biggest deal in the world. That a lot of people want to go with that and just be like, why is he in jail for that? That's dumb. That's stupid. It's legal in most of the country. Remember why he's actually in jail. Remember the real reason is because of a hit-and-run accident that occurred back in March of 2024. There was no chance he would have been in jail because of this had that not been the case. Don't lose sight of that. He is a loser here, not just because he spent 30 days in jail, but also because he spent those 30 days in jail with a recently surgically repaired knee. Like, this situation should frustrate Chiefs fans. You are not wrong to be upset with Rashee Rice. I think this organization should be more upset with Rashee Rice than they currently are. He's a loser on this channel. Even if the organization wants to stand by him through all of this, I say loser on my book. Kristian Fulton, also a loser for very, very different reasons, thankfully. Kristian Fulton, I actually thought coming into this season might be heading for a better year than what we saw in 2025 until this happened. Until the Kansas City Chiefs went out and signed L'Jarius Sneed. As soon as you do that, you kind of send a pretty clear message. We don't feel very good about this corner room. We don't feel very good about this corner room's depth or possibly even the top end. I think at the end of the day, Mansoor Delane is very clearly your number one corner. It is now a competition between Kristian Fulton, Noel Williams, and L'Jarius Sneed to be number two. Who's going to win? I think at the end of the day, that's one of the biggest questions. And one of the things that will factor into it is the financial equation. Remember that Kristian Fulton was a healthy scratch for large portions of last season. He got going towards the end of the year, which is why, again, you were projecting, hey, maybe what we saw at the end of the year is the Chiefs starting to bet more on Kristian Fulton. But the Chiefs might need this $8 million in cap that they can save by getting rid of him. And at the end of the day, if L'Jarius Sneed proves himself to be capable, if Noel Williams proves himself to be capable, it's going to be bye-bye for Kristian Fulton in a hurry. I think at the end of the day, it's just too easy to make that decision. Last loser, though, this will surprise you if you haven't heard the news over the last couple days. We just talked about him. Chiefs first-round pick, Mansoor, Delane. And this is unfortunate. And again, I'm going to say this is the softest possible definition of loser. Very soft usage of loser here. I might even whisper, he's a loser. He's not really a big loser. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, Rashee Rice, huge loser. Kristian Fulton, very significant loser. His roster spot is now under threat. Mansoor Delane just got set back here, though. And you can't ignore it. The reality is he missed the last couple days of OTAs. He missed all of mandatory minicamp. He was there, wasn't skipping out on anything, but he's hurt. He had a shoulder injury that popped up for him over these last couple of days, and it required him to sit out and miss this period. And again, we had no idea what was going on initially. If you remember going back to Tuesday, we were a little worried on this channel because Mansoor Delane was just standing on the side with no helmet on, doing stretches while everyone else went through drill work. And then it went on that way through Wednesday. Again, wasn't participating. And we didn't hear from Andy Reid until finally yesterday. Andy Reid cleared up the situation. This was something we made a short on, but of course the Wanye Morris trade kind of dominated things yesterday, so we're finally getting back around to it. But again, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss shorts for quick Chiefs breaking news like this. But we did find out that Mansoor Delane is dealing with this shoulder injury. He is expected to be back by camp, though. That's the bright side here. That's the silver lining to what's overall not great news. Mansoor Delane misses time. Mansoor Delane does have an injury that we didn't know about, but he is going to be back in full swing by training camp, and we need him to be back in full swing by training camp and back as a full participant to get ramped up with this unit because he projects as your number one corner in a room that has a lot of moving parts this offseason. Think about this. 3 of those 5 guys are new to this roster, and the other one, other than Shamari Connor, was not a starter last season. You have 4 new starters in your 5 critical positions on the back end. This unit needs as many possible reps together before we get to the season as humanly possible. And Delane, who is maybe the most important part of it all, missing time is the opposite of what they need. We need him to get back to fully healthy by the start of training camp, so I really hope he is resting well, focusing on his shoulder rehab, whatever he needs to do, and back to 100% by the time we get going for Chiefs training camp. But again, we will cover everything around training camp for this Kansas City Chiefs team, just like we always cover the Chiefs news that you need to know right here on this channel. So if you haven't already joined us by hitting that subscribe button, make sure you do. You made it far enough in this one that you're pretty clearly enjoying it. So why don't you stick around and see us on the next one? I'll see you there. As always, we appreciate your time.